Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into some truly game-changing insights from the legendary Danial Goleman on why emotional intelligence, and not just your raw intellect, is the ultimate separator between average workers and truly outstanding leaders. We're going to look closely at how humans actually operate in the real world and how mastering yourself is absolutely the first step to mastering your environment.
Let's kick things off with a pretty fascinating contrast. For decades, right, society has been completely obsessed with IQ. But here's the reality check. Your cognitive ability, your IQ, really just gets you in the door. It predicts how well you'll do in school and roughly what salary tier you can reach, simply because it determines if you can pass the exams to become a doctor, a lawyer, or a business executive. But once you're actually in that room, everyone else is just about as smart as you are. The playing field is entirely level. And that is exactly where emotional intelligence kicks in. It's your emotional toolkit that predicts outstanding performance and true leadership.
To guide our journey today, we'll follow this quick roadmap. We'll look at the limits of IQ, break down the 4 pillars of emotional intelligence, figure out how to rewire those stubborn habits, look at the leadership ripple effect, and finally wrap up with the magic of purpose. Let's get right to it.
So, Section 1, the limits of IQ and going beyond intellect.
I absolutely love this quote from Goleman because, honestly, it's incredibly empowering. He points out that unlike your IQ, which barely budges over your lifetime, your emotional intelligence can actually change. So, while cognitive intelligence is kind of fixed by adulthood, your emotional toolkit is a set of personal skills, and that means it is entirely learnable at any age. You are never, ever stuck with the emotional habits you have right now. Moving on to Section 2. Let's break down the 4 pillars of EI using Goleman's actual framework. The foundational pillar here is self-awareness, basically knowing exactly what you're feeling in the moment and understanding how those feelings are actively shaping your perceptions, your thoughts, and your impulses to act. Research actually shows that if you lack self-awareness, you're going to really struggle to develop strengths anywhere else on the spectrum. I mean, you literally have to be able to read your own dashboard before you can safely drive the car, right? And that brings us to the second pillar, self-management. This is all about your ability to wrangle those emotions and stop them from completely ruining your focus when you're upset, angry, or anxious. Think of this as the ultimate antidote to everyday stuff like road rage or, blowing up at a coworker when you're under the gun. It's that critical ability to feel the heat but still keep your cool so you can focus on the task at hand.
Okay, pillar number 3 is social awareness. This is where we start practicing real empathy, understanding how another person thinks and feels. But look at the word care here. That is absolutely crucial. It's not just analyzing someone coldly. You have to genuinely care about them. And let's be honest, that is exactly the trait we all desperately want in our spouses, our friends, our doctors, and our leaders. We just want to know that they truly care.
Finally, we hit the 4th pillar, relationship management, handling conflicts, communicating effectively, listening, and building real trust. This is where the whole shebang comes together. It's where you successfully synthesize your own self-awareness and self-management, mix it with your empathy for others, and actually use it to create harmonious, highly effective interactions out in the real world. All right, Section 3, rewiring your emotional habits, or as we like to think of it, fixing those everyday emotional colds. Okay, I want you to literally do a quick physical exercise with me right now, wherever you are. Go ahead and cross your arms over your chest just like you normally do. Got it? Okay. Now uncross them and fold them the other way around with the opposite arm on top. How does that feel? A little weird, right? Kind of physically uncomfortable? Well, that awkwardness is exactly what it feels like when you try to break an established emotional habit. And that deep discomfort, it's all explained by neuroplasticity. This is the underlying mechanism of all habit change, how your brain actually physically changes with repeated experience. So just like crossing your arms the wrong way, trying to consciously listen to a colleague without interrupting them is going to feel incredibly awkward at first. You really have to force it. But here's the magic. Through neuroplasticity, your persistence rewires the physical pathways in your brain. Eventually, that awkward forced effort just becomes a smooth automatic habit. Let's scale this up in Section 4, the leadership ripple effect. Because guess what? Emotions are highly contagious. Referencing some brilliant research out of Yale by Sigal Barsade, we can see that a leader's emotions literally ripple outward. Just look at the leader you hate column. A low emotional intelligence leader is clueless and prone to blowing up.
The team literally catches that negative anxiety like a virus, and what happens? Performance drops. But then contrast that with the leader you love. High EI, supportive, inspiring. The team catches that enthusiasm instead, and performance naturally rises. So the big takeaway here is this. A low EI boss might hit this quarter's numbers by relying on fear and stress, but they are secretly draining the organization's future. They burn out talent, they drive up turnover. Meanwhile, the high EI leader is creating this amazing clarity and an optimal environment for long-term success.
And that brings us to our final section, Section 5, the magic of purpose, and seeing this real-world impact in action. Goleman tells this amazing story about stepping onto a New York City bus on a hot, muggy day. Everyone on board was just silent, grumpy, radiating this heavy, don't touch me vibe. And then he was totally disarmed by the driver, a guy named Gowen Brown, who just brightly said, "Welcome to the bus. How's your day going?" This driver warmly engaged literally every single passenger. He pointed out museum exhibits and announced store sales as they drove past. He completely shifted the emotional temperature of everyone who stepped onto his vehicle.
Get this, 3,000. That is the number of fan letters this driver received over his career. He was so remarkably skilled at relationship management and social awareness that people would literally wait around just to catch his specific bus. 3,000 letters of praise and 0 complaints. Not a single one. Just let that sink in for a second.
So what was his secret? It was all about how he viewed his role. He wasn't just driving a bus, he was tending to his flock. It turned out Gowen Brown was actually a church pastor, and he viewed those passengers not as some annoying transit metric, but as his actual flock. That perspective gave his everyday job this magnificent sense of purpose. He brought his massive emotional intelligence to the exact square foot he was standing on, totally transforming the experience of everyone he met.
We're going to wrap up this explainer by leaving you with this one really powerful thought. How would your environment transform if you treated it as your flock today? Because emotional intelligence, it's not just some corporate buzzword designed to make businesses more money. It is a profound, practical way to build a kinder, more compassionate society. It starts with your own self-awareness, sure, but it extends to whoever happens to be standing right in front of you today. So are you ready to change the emotional temperature of your room? Take that question with you and keep learning.